20 armed men surround the ranch. The preacher raises his Bible like a weapon. Jamie steps forward, placing himself between the mob and the twin cowboys who claimed him. "I am 19 years old," he shouts, "old enough to die for your causes, but not old enough to choose who I love." Before we dive in, comment where in the world you're watching from, and don't forget to click subscribe. The dust hung thick in the air that afternoon when Jamie Crown first saw them. Twin giants standing in the stable doorway, backlit by the brutal Texas sun, their silhouettes impossibly broad, impossibly tall, casting shadows that stretched all the way to where Jamie knelt, mucking out the third stall. His hands froze on the pitchfork handle, heart suddenly hammering against his ribs for reasons he could not name. The Maddox brothers. Everyone in 3 counties knew their names. Colt and Carson Maddox owned the largest cattle operation west of the Brazos River. Men spoke of them in hushed tones at the saloon. Women blushed and looked away when they rode past. But Jamie had never been this close, never felt the weight of their presence like a physical force pressing down on him. They moved together with an unsettling synchronicity, 2 halves of the same dangerous whole. Colt stepped forward first, the older twin by 7 minutes, as the ranch hands like to say. His voice came out low and rough like gravel under boot leather. "You the new stable boy?" Jamie straightened slowly, aware suddenly of how young he looked, how small. At 19 he was lean where they were massive, soft where they were hardened by years under the unforgiving sun. "Yes, sir. Name's Jamie Crown." Both brothers studied him with eyes the color of storm clouds, an assessment that felt invasive, like they could see straight through his worn cotton shirt to the nervous flutter in his chest. Carson, the younger twin, crossed his arms, muscles straining against the fabric of his work shirt. "You know anything about horses, boy? Or did old Thomas hire you out of pity?" Heat flooded Jamie's face, not from anger but from something else, something that made his throat tight. "I know horses, sir. Been working with them since I could walk. My daddy ran a stable in..." The words died when Colt moved closer, each step deliberate, predatory. He stopped just inches away, close enough that Jamie could smell leather and sweat and something darker, something that made every nerve in his body light up like 4th of July fireworks. "We'll see about that." Colt's voice dropped lower. "Tomorrow morning, 4 o'clock, you'll ride out with us to check the northern fence line." Jamie's mouth went dry. 4 in the morning meant hours alone with them, miles from the ranch house, from anyone who might what? That's when the fear hit. Not of them exactly, but of the way his body responded to their proximity. The way heat pooled low in his stomach when Carson stepped up beside his brother, flanking him, trapping him between their massive frames and the stable wall. "You got a problem with that, boy?" Carson asked, his breath warm against Jamie's ear. "No, sir." The words came out barely a whisper. "Good, because we don't tolerate laziness on this ranch." Colt reached out, calloused fingers gripping Jamie's chin, forcing his head up, forcing him to meet those storm-gray eyes. "And we don't tolerate lying. You understand?" Jamie nodded, unable to speak, unable to breathe. The touch burned, branded, made something inside him crack wide open, something he had spent 19 years pretending did not exist. When they finally stepped back, the air rushed into his lungs so fast it hurt. He watched them walk away, 2 towering figures disappearing into the golden afternoon light, and he knew with absolute certainty that his life had just changed forever. That night, Jamie could not sleep. He lay in the cramped bunkhouse listening to the other ranch hands snore, his mind replaying every second of that encounter. The way Colt's fingers felt against his skin, the heat of Carson's breath, the weight of their attention like a brand searing into his soul. He had always known, deep down in a place he never examined too closely, that he was different, that the things that made other men look at women with hunger made him feel nothing. But this was something else entirely. This was dangerous. At 3:30 he gave up on sleep, pulled on his clothes in the dark, made his way to the stable where 2 horses were already saddled and waiting, and standing beside them, Colt and Carson Maddox, both watching him with expressions he could not read. "You're early," Carson observed. "I don't like being late, sir." Colt's mouth curved into something that might have been a smile, might have been a warning. "Good, because where we're going there's no room for mistakes." They rode out into the pre-dawn darkness, Jamie between them, acutely aware of how their horses pressed close, how their knees occasionally brushed his, each touch sending electricity racing up his spine. The landscape stretched endless and black, only the stars providing any light. And in that darkness, Jamie felt exposed, vulnerable, like they could see every secret he had ever tried to hide. After an hour, Colt broke the silence. "You ever been with anyone, Jamie?" The question hit like a fist to the gut. Jamie's hands tightened on the reins. I haven't." Carson laughed, low and knowing. "That's what we thought." The words should have been cruel, should have made Jamie angry. Instead, they made him feel stripped bare, seen in a way that terrified and thrilled him in equal measure. When they finally stopped, the sun was just beginning to paint the horizon pink and gold. They were miles from anywhere, alone in an ocean of prairie grass. Colt dismounted first, then Carson, both moving with that unnerving coordination, both watching Jamie with eyes that held promises, threats, possibilities. "Get down," Colt ordered. Jamie obeyed, his legs shaky as he slid from the saddle. The twins closed in, circling him like wolves with prey. "You feel it, don't you?" Carson murmured, his voice silk and steel. "That pull." Jamie's heart slammed against his ribs. "I don't know what you mean." "Liar." Colt stepped so close Jamie could feel the heat radiating from his body. "We've been watching you since the day you arrived, watching the way you look at us, the way you tremble when we get close." Shame and desire warred in Jamie's chest. He wanted to deny it, wanted to run, but his feet would not move. His voice would not work. Carson's hand came up, fingers trailing along Jamie's jaw, making him flinch, making him lean into the touch despite himself. "You're ours now," Carson whispered, "and we take care of what belongs to us." The world tilted. Jamie's vision blurred. He had spent his entire life hiding, pretending, building walls so high and thick that nothing could breach them. And these two men had torn them down in less than 24 hours. Colt's hand joined his brother's, two sets of calloused fingers mapping the planes of Jamie's face, his neck, the rapid flutter of his pulse. "We're going to teach you things," Colt said softly. "Things you've never imagined, things that will change you." Jamie finally found his voice, raw and broken. "What if I don't want?" But Carson cut him off with a look, a smile that held dark promise. "Oh, but you do. We can see it, feel it. You're starving for this, for us." And the worst part, the part that made Jamie's knees threaten to give out, was that they were right. The sun climbed higher, golden light spilling across the prairie, and Jamie Crown stood between two giants, his world cracking apart and reforming into something new, something terrifying, something he knew he would never be able to walk away from. The sun climbed higher, but they did not leave the prairie, not yet. Carson circled behind Jamie while Colt remained in front, two walls of solid muscle trapping him between them. "You need to understand something." Colt's voice dropped low. "Dangerous. When we say you are ours, we mean it, completely." Jamie's breath came faster, his heart slamming against his ribs. "What does that mean?" "It means," Carson's hands gripped Jamie's hips from behind, firm, possessive, "that we are going to show you exactly what you have been missing, what your body has been starving for." Jamie gasped as Carson pulled him back against his chest, the heat overwhelming, the solid presence making his knees weak. Colt stepped closer, crowding Jamie's space until there was nowhere to go, nothing but them surrounding him, consuming him. They began slow, teaching him through touch, through pressure and heat and sensation that built like a wildfire spreading across dry grass. Colt's hands mapping his chest through the thin shirt, finding every place that made Jamie arch, made him whimper, while Carson's grip on his hips tightened, holding him steady, holding him still. "You feel that?" Colt murmured, against Jamie's ear. "That heat building inside you, that need?" Jamie could only nod, lost in the waves of sensation crashing over him. It was too much, not nearly enough. Everything he had denied himself for 19 years, suddenly flooding through him all at once. "We are going to take care of you." Carson's breath was hot against his neck. "Going to show you what it means to surrender, to let go, to trust us completely." And then they did. Right there under the endless Texas sky, they showed Jamie what his body could feel, what pleasure could build to. Using only their hands, their voices, their overwhelming presence, Colt worked him from the front, skilled fingers finding rhythm, finding pressure, building heat that made Jamie's vision blur, made his legs shake, made broken sounds tear from his throat, while Carson held him upright from behind, one hand splayed possessive across Jamie's stomach, the other gripping his hip hard enough to leave marks, hard enough to brand. "You're doing so well," Colt praised, voice rough with his own need, "taking everything we give you, so perfect, so responsive." The words sent Jamie higher, made the fire spread faster. He had never felt anything like this, never knew his body could respond this way, could burn this bright. Carson's mouth found the sensitive spot behind Jamie's ear, teeth grazing, making Jamie cry out, "That is it. Let us hear you. Let the whole prairie know who you belong to." The pleasure built impossibly higher, tighter, until Jamie was trembling between them, suspended on the edge of something that terrified and thrilled him in equal measure. "Please," the word broke from him, desperate, pleading. "Please what?" Colt's eyes were storm dark, molten. "Tell us what you need." "I don't know," Jamie gasped. "I have never. I cannot. Then let us show you." Carson's voice was pure silk. "Let go, Jamie. We have got you." And Jamie did. Surrendered completely to the overwhelming sensations, to their skilled hands and commanding voices, to the heat that consumed him from the inside out. The release crashed through him like thunder, like lightning splitting the sky. Wave after wave of pleasure so intense it bordered on pain. He cried out, their names torn from his throat as his body shattered and reformed. As everything he thought he knew about himself dissolved and became something new, they held him through it, supported his weight as his legs gave out, murmured praise and possession against his skin as he came back to himself. Trembling, overwhelmed, transformed. When Jamie could finally breathe again, could finally think, he found himself on the ground and cradled between them, their hands still gentle on his skin. That, Colt's smile was satisfied, possessive, was just the beginning. Jamie's eyes went wide. The beginning. Carson laughed low. "You did not think we were done with you, did you? We have barely started teaching you, showing you, making you ours." All the way back to the ranch, Jamie felt different, changed on a fundamental level, his body still humming with aftershocks, still craving more of what they had given him, and from the heated looks they kept sending him, from the possessive touches and whispered promises. He knew this was only the start. They would take him apart piece by piece, show him pleasures he had never imagined, make him so addicted to their touch that the thought of being without them would be unbearable. And Jamie, he wanted it, craved it with a desperation that should have scared him, but instead felt like finally coming home. When they finally reached the stable, Colt leaned down from his horse, his voice pitched low enough that only Jamie could hear. "Tonight, after the other hands are asleep, you'll come to the main house, to our rooms." Jamie's stomach dropped. "What if I don't? Then we'll know you're afraid," Carson added. "And we don't have use for cowards on this ranch." It was a test, a challenge, and Jamie had never been good at backing down. Even when every instinct screamed at him to run, he nodded once, sharp and final. "I'll be there. Good boy." The words should have been condescending. Instead, they made Jamie's whole body flush with heat, made something inside him purr with satisfaction he did not understand. He watched them ride toward the ranch house, two titans disappearing into the shimmering afternoon haze, and he wondered if he had just made a deal with the devil, or if he had finally found exactly what he had been searching for his entire life. The day passed in a blur of work, mucking stalls, grooming horses, trying desperately not to think about what waited for him after dark, but his mind kept returning to the prairie, to the feeling of being circled, hunted, claimed. The other ranch hands noticed his distraction. "Hey, Crown," one of them called out around dinner time. "You feeling all right?" You look like you've seen a ghost. Jamie forced a smile. Just tired. Long day? The man grunted. Well, don't let the Maddox brothers work you too hard. They've got a reputation for breaking in new hires. The words hung in the air. Heavy with meaning, Jamie was only beginning to understand. As night fell, he retreated to the bunkhouse, lay on his cot pretending to read, waiting for the other men to settle, for the snoring to start, for his moment to slip away unnoticed. At midnight he rose, dressed in his cleanest shirt, ran damp fingers through his hair. His reflection in the small mirror showed a stranger, wide eyes, flushed cheeks, a mouth he could not quite keep steady. He looked young, nervous, eager. He looked like prey, walking willingly into the lion's den. The walk to the main house felt eternal. Every shadow made him jump. Every sound seemed amplified in the quiet night. When he finally reached the back door, he hesitated, hand raised to knock, heart threatening to break free from his chest. Before his knuckles could touch wood, the door swung open. Carson stood framed in the doorway, shirtless, lamplight painting his skin gold. Those storm-gray eyes fixed on Jamie with an intensity that stole his breath. We were beginning to think you wouldn't come. Jamie swallowed hard. I said I would. Carson's smile was slow, dangerous. Yes, you did. He stepped back, a silent invitation. Jamie crossed the threshold and heard the door close behind him with the finality of a prison gate or a sanctuary. He was no longer sure which. The main house was quiet, dark except for the lamp Carson carried. He led Jamie through hallways that seemed to stretch forever, past rooms filled with leather furniture and hunting trophies, the spoils of men who took what they wanted, who never apologized, who never backed down. At the end of the hallway, double doors stood open, revealing a bedroom that dwarfed anything Jamie had ever seen. A massive bed dominated the space, dark wood and heavy quilts, built for men who took up room, who demanded space, who never made themselves small. And sitting on the edge of that bed, Colt, also shirtless, also watching Jamie with that predatory focus that made him feel like the only thing in the entire world worth noticing. Come here, Colt ordered, voice soft but absolute. Jamie's feet moved before his brain could catch up, carrying him forward until he stood before them, between them again, always between them, always caught. Carson moved behind him, close enough that Jamie could feel the heat, the solid presence. Hands came to rest on his shoulders, gentle but firm. You're shaking, Carson observed. Are you afraid? Yes. The word slipped out. Honest. Raw. Good. Colt rose from the bed, towering over Jamie, making him feel impossibly small. Fear keeps you honest, keeps you present. His hand came up, cupped Jamie's face with a tenderness that seemed at odds with everything else about him. We're not going to hurt you. Not unless you ask us to. The words hung between them. An offer. A threat. A promise Jamie did not fully understand, but felt in every cell of his body. Carson's hand slid down from his shoulders, tracing the line of his spine through the thin cotton shirt, making Jamie arch involuntarily, making him gasp. So responsive. Carson murmured against his ear. So perfect. Colt's thumb brushed across Jamie's lower lip. Slow, deliberate. Have you ever been touched like this? No. The admission burned, made Jamie's face flame with shame and desire tangled so tight he could not separate them. Never. Tell us what you want, Colt commanded. Jamie's mind went blank. What did he want? He had spent so long not wanting, not allowing himself to want, that the question felt impossible. I don't know. Wrong answer. Carson's hands tightened on his hips, grounding him. We'll ask again, and this time you'll tell us the truth. What do you want, Jamie? The truth clawed its way up from the depths, from the place he had locked away since he first understood he was different. Wrong. Broken. I want. His voice cracked. I want to not be alone anymore. Silence. Heavy and complete. Then Colt pulled him close, wrapped him in arms that felt like safety and danger in equal measure. You're not alone. Not anymore. and Carson pressed against his back, creating warmth on all sides, surrounding him, consuming him. "We've got you, now and always." Something inside Jamie shattered, some final wall he had been holding up through sheer force of will, and in its place flooded relief so intense it hurt. He sagged between them, held up only by their strength, their certainty. "Thank you." The words came out broken, desperate. "Thank you." They did not answer with words. Instead, they moved him, guided him to the bed, laid him down with a gentleness that contrasted sharply with their rough hands and rougher reputations. And then they showed him, through touch that spoke louder than any language, through attention that made him feel precious, worshipped, claimed. They mapped every inch of exposed skin, fingers tracing collarbones, the hollow of his throat, the ridge of his hip bones through worn denim. Each touch deliberate, each one a question, each one answered by the way Jamie trembled, gasped, arched into their hands like a plant reaching for sunlight. Colt leaned down, breath warm against Jamie's neck. "You're ours now. Do you understand?" "Yes." Carson's hand splayed across his stomach, possessive, anchoring. "Say it. Say you're ours. I'm yours." And with those words, Jamie felt the last piece of his old life fall away, felt himself transformed into something new, something that belonged to these two giants who had seen him, really seen him, and wanted him anyway. The night stretched on, a blur of sensation and whispered words and touches that rewrote everything Jamie thought he knew about himself. They took their time, building heat slowly, teaching him patience, teaching him to feel without thinking, to surrender without fear. Colt laid him back on the massive bed, his weight settling over Jamie like a promise, like a threat, like everything Jamie had ever wanted and been too afraid to ask for. "You're trembling," Colt observed, his hands working Jamie's shirt open with deliberate slowness. "Are you afraid?" "Yes," Jamie gasped as calloused fingers found bare skin. "But not of you, of how much I want this, how much I need it." "Good." Carson joined them on the bed, flanking Jamie's other side. "Because we are going to give you everything. More than you can handle. More than you knew existed." They mapped every inch of him, learning what made him gasp, what made him arch, what made broken pleading sounds tear from his throat. And when Jamie thought he could not take any more, when the anticipation had built to an unbearable peak, Colt finally gave him what he had been craving. The pressure was overwhelming, intense. Jamie's back arched off the bed as Colt pressed into him, slow and relentless, giving him time to adjust, to breathe, to accept what was happening. So tight. Colt groaned. "Perfect. You were made for this. Made for us." Jamie could not form words, could only feel the stretch, the burn, the impossible fullness as Colt claimed him completely, took what Jamie was offering, what he was surrendering. Carson's hand found Jamie's jaw, turned his face. "You are doing so well, taking him so beautifully." His mouth covered Jamie's, swallowing the sounds, the whimpers, the desperate pleas for more, for mercy, for something he could not name. Then Colt began to move, slow at first, let Jamie feel every inch, every thrust, every place where their bodies joined and separated and joined again. The rhythm built, steady and deep, each movement sending sparks racing up Jamie's spine, making pleasure coil tighter in his belly, making him understand finally what it meant to be claimed, to be owned, to be theirs. More. Jamie begged against Carson's mouth. "Please, more." Colt's control shattered. His movements became harder, faster, driving into Jamie with purpose, with possession, with the clear intent to mark him, to brand him, to make sure Jamie would never forget who he belonged to. Carson's hand wrapped around Jamie, adding another layer of sensation, another source of overwhelming pleasure, working him in time with Colt's thrusts until Jamie was sobbing, lost in the storm of feeling. "You are ours now," Colt growled. "Say it. Say you are ours. Yours," Jamie cried out. "I am yours. Both of you. Always." The words seemed to unleash something in them. Colt's rhythm became punishing, perfect, hitting places inside Jamie that made stars explode behind his eyes, made his whole body draw tight as a bowstring. Carson's hand moved faster, grip firm, demanding Jamie's release. And when it came, when the pleasure finally crested and broke, Jamie screamed, his body convulsing between them as wave after wave of sensation crashed through him, as everything dissolved into white heat and pure feeling. Colt followed moments later, driving deep and staying there as he found his own release, filling Jamie, marking him from the inside, claiming him in the most primal way possible. They collapsed together, three bodies tangled and slick with sweat, hearts pounding in synchrony, breaths coming in ragged gasps. But they were not done. As Jamie drifted, floating in the aftermath, he felt movement, felt Colt withdraw carefully, felt strong hands repositioning him. Then Carson was there, fresh and hard and ready. "You did not think Colt would have all the fun, did you?" Carson's smile was wicked. "It is my turn now." And Jamie, still trembling from the first round, still overwhelmed and oversensitive, found himself nodding, wanting, needing to give Carson the same surrender, the same complete access to his body. Carson was different. Where Colt had been intense and commanding, Carson was playful, teasing. He took his time, built Jamie back up slowly, kissing and touching and whispering filthy promises until Jamie was hard again, desperate again, begging again. "Please." Jamie's voice was wrecked. "Please, Carson, I know what you need." Carson positioned himself. "You need to be filled, need to be used, need to be reminded that you belong to us." He pressed in, and Jamie's back arched, the stretch even more intense the second time, his body already tender, already overwhelmed, but accepting, welcoming, craving the proof that he was theirs. Carson set a different rhythm, slower, deeper, each thrust deliberate, each one designed to make Jamie feel every inch, to draw out the pleasure until it bordered on torture. Colt watched from beside them, his hand stroking lazily, eyes dark with satisfaction as he watched his brother claim what was theirs. "You look so beautiful like this," Colt murmured, "taking what we give you. So open, so perfect." The words combined with Carson's relentless rhythm pushed Jamie toward the edge again, impossibly fast. His body already primed, already trained to respond to their touch. "That is it," Carson breathed. "Come for us again. Show us how good we make you feel." And Jamie did, his release somehow even more intense than the first, his body clenching around Carson, drawing him deeper, holding him as the pleasure tore through him, left him shaking and boneless and completely wrecked. Carson followed with a groan, adding his own release to Colt's, marking Jamie, claiming him, making sure he would feel them for days. When Carson finally pulled out, when they had cleaned him gently and wrapped him in blankets, Jamie lay between them exhausted, used, utterly satisfied. He ached, would definitely feel this tomorrow, but the ache was proof, evidence that this was real, that they wanted him, that he belonged. "You are ours now," Colt repeated, voice soft but absolute. "No going back." Jamie smiled, eyes already closing, would not want to go back. This, you, it is everything. They held him as he drifted, both of them surrounding him, protecting him, and for the first time in his life, Jamie felt complete. When exhaustion finally claimed him, Jamie lay between them, their bodies forming a wall on either side. Protection, prison, paradise, and for the first time in his life he felt complete. Dawn came too soon, gray light filtering through the curtains. Jamie woke to find himself alone in the massive bed. Panic seized him immediately. Had they left? Had it all been some cruel game? But then the door opened. Colt entered carrying a tray, coffee and bread and jam. His expression softened when he saw Jamie awake. "Morning. Morning, sir." "Stop that." Colt set the tray on the nightstand. "When it's just us, you call us by our names. Understand?" Jamie nodded, his throat tight with emotion he could not name. Where's Carson? Dealing with the morning chores. He'll be up soon. Colt sat on the edge of the bed, his hand finding Jamie's knee through the quilt. How are you feeling? Terrified. The honesty slipped out before Jamie could stop it. Good. That means you understand what happened. What's happening? Jamie's brow furrowed. What is happening? Colt's smile was small, almost sad. You walked into our lives, and we're not letting you walk back out. But no buts. Colt's grip tightened. This is how it works now. You belong to us. You sleep here. You work with us. You become part of this. Part of us. The magnitude of it crashed over Jamie like a wave. This was not just one night. This was forever. Or as close to forever as men like them could promise. What if someone finds out? Then they find out. Colt's voice held no fear, no shame. We're the Maddox brothers. We do what we want. And right now, we want you. The door opened again. Carson appeared, his expression brightening when he saw Jamie awake. There he is. He crossed to the bed, sat on the opposite side, effectively trapping Jamie between them again. Sleep well? Jamie nodded, unable to form words past the lump in his throat. Carson's hand joined his brother's, two sets of calloused fingers mapping Jamie's body through the thin quilt. You're going to eat. Then you're going to wash. Then you're coming back out to the stable with us. Business as usual. Except, Jamie whispered. Except now everyone will know. Colt and Carson exchanged a look. Some unspoken communication passing between them. Let them know, Carson said finally. Let them see you walk out of this house with us. Let them understand. Jamie's stomach twisted, but the fear was smaller now. Manageable, because he was not facing it alone. He ate breakfast sitting between them, their shoulders brushing his, their presence surrounding him like armor. And when the time came to face the ranch, to face the stares and whispers and judgment, he walked out flanked by two giants, head high, heart pounding, absolutely terrified, absolutely certain, because he had finally found where he belonged, and he would fight to keep it, no matter what it cost. The morning sun hit him like a baptism, washing away the old Jamie, the one who hid, who pretended, who spent 19 years apologizing for existing. In his place stood someone new, someone claimed, someone wanted, someone who finally understood what it meant to be home. The ranch hands stopped working when they saw them, three figures emerging from the main house, two towering and confident, one smaller but no less certain, walking together, moving as one. The whispers started immediately, but Colt's hand on Jamie's lower back kept him moving forward, and Carson's presence at his other side reminded him he was protected, guarded, theirs. At the stable they put him to work, same tasks as before, but everything felt different, changed by the knowledge of what waited for him after dark, by the way Colt would brush past him, close enough to make his breath catch. By the way Carson would look at him across the stable, eyes holding promises that made Jamie's knees weak. Around noon, one of the older ranch hands approached, a grizzled man named Dutch, who had worked for the Maddox family for 30 years. Boy, he said quietly, you know what you're doing? Jamie met his eyes, steady despite the fear. Yes, sir. Dutch studied him for a long moment, then nodded. Just remember, they're good men, but they're hard men. You break and they won't know how to fix you. I won't break, can't promise that. Dutch's expression was grave, but I hope you're right, because those two, they don't do anything halfway. When they decide something is theirs, it stays theirs. The words settled over Jamie like a mantle, heavy with responsibility. That evening brought new challenges. Dinner in the bunkhouse where conversations died when he entered, where his new status hung in the air like smoke. He ate quickly, and when darkness fell, he made the walk to the main house. This time without hesitation. The pattern established itself. Work during daylight, nights in their bed, slowly learning the language of their bodies. They taught him patience. That pleasure could be drawn out. That surrender was not weakness, but strength. And Jamie learned, absorbed every lesson, transformed under their hands. He was not broken. He was not wrong. He was not alone. He was loved, claimed, home. And that was everything. The storm broke 3 days later. Jamie was in the north pasture mending fence when he saw the dust cloud. Too many riders, moving too fast. His stomach dropped. He abandoned the wire and ran for the ranch house, boots pounding against hard earth, lungs burning. By the time he reached the yard, Colt and Carson were already outside, both armed, both with expressions carved from granite. How many? Jamie gasped. 20, maybe more. Carson's jaw was tight. Led by Halverson and the town preacher. They want blood. Jamie's world tilted. This was it. The moment he had been dreading. The moment when everything they had built would be tested by fire. What do? Fight. Colt's voice was steel. We fight. The riders came into view. A wall of men on horseback, faces hard with righteousness, with the certainty of those who believed God was on their side. Halverson rode at the front. Beside him a gaunt man in black, Bible clutched in one hand, rifle in the other. The preacher. They stopped at the fence line, close enough to shout, far enough to retreat if needed. Colt Maddox, Carson Maddox. Halverson's voice rang out. You have been judged by the good people of this territory, found wanting, found wicked. You will vacate this land within 24 hours, or face the consequences. Colt stepped forward, his Winchester held loose but ready. This is our land, has been for 3 generations. You got no claim here. We have the claim of decent men. The preacher spoke, his voice like grinding stone. You harbor abomination, flaunt your perversion, corrupt the youth placed in your care. His eyes fixed on Jamie, burning with condemnation. That boy there, he could have been saved, could have lived a righteous life. But you twisted him, made him into something unnatural. Rage exploded in Jamie's chest, white hot, blinding. Before either twin could stop him, he pushed forward, placed himself between them and the mob. No one twisted me, his voice carried across the yard, strong despite the fear clawing at his throat. No one corrupted me. I chose this, chose them, and I would choose them again every single day for the rest of my life. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some men shifted uncomfortably. Others tightened their grips on weapons. The preacher's face darkened. You are a child, led astray by... I am 19 years old. Jamie cut him off. Old enough to work, old enough to fight in your wars, old enough to die for your causes, but not old enough to choose who I love? The word hung in the air. Love, not lust, not perversion. Love. And the simplicity of it, the honesty, made several men in the crowd look away. You speak of sin, Jamie continued, voice gaining strength. But what sin is there in caring for someone, in protecting them, in building a life together? My entire life I was told I was wrong, broken, damned, and I believed it, carried that shame like chains, until I met Colt and Carson, and they showed me something you never could. That love does not have to look the way you demand. That family is not always blood. That home is where you are seen, known, accepted. Silence, complete and total. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Then a voice from the back of the crowd, a younger man, face uncertain. My brother. He paused, swallowed hard. My brother was like that, like you. And we cast him out, told him he was damned. He killed himself last winter. The words fell like stones into still water, creating ripples that spread through the assembled men. I think about it every day. The young man's voice cracked. Wonder if maybe we were the ones who were wrong. More murmurs, louder now. Men arguing among themselves, the certainty fracturing. Halverson's face went red. This is not about feelings. This is about property, about the railroad, about progress. and men like the Maddox brothers stand in the way. There it is. Carson's laugh was bitter. Not about morality at all. Just about money. Just about you wanting what is ours. The preacher raised his Bible. Do not be deceived. These men are sinners. And the boy, Jamie Crown. He stepped closer, until only the fence separated them. I know your father. Knew him. Before he died. Before you ran away. Jamie's blood turned to ice. What? Oh yes. The preacher's smile was cruel. John Crown. Fine man. God-fearing. He knew what you were. Suspected. And it broke his heart. Killed him, really. The guilt. The shame of raising such a son. The words hit like bullets, each one tearing into Jamie's chest, ripping open wounds he thought had healed. No. Jamie's voice came out strangled. That's not. He died of fever. He died of a broken heart. The preacher insisted. Died knowing his only son was an abomination. And now, look at you, proving him right. Jamie's knees threatened to give out. The world spinning, all the progress he had made, all the healing, shattered in an instant by words designed to destroy. Then Colt was there, solid and real behind him, and Carson, both of them forming a wall between Jamie and the poison being spewed. You are a liar. Colt's voice was quiet, deadly, and a coward, using a dead man to justify your hate. The preacher's eyes blazed. I speak God's truth. You speak your own fear, Carson added. Fear that the world is changing, that your power is slipping, that young men like Jamie are choosing love over your version of righteousness. And it terrifies you, because if they can be happy, if they can build lives outside your approval, then what use are you? The question hung there, brutal in its simplicity. The preacher had no answer, only sputtering rage. Halverson tried to regain control. Enough talk. You have 24 hours. After that, we come back with the marshal, with legal authority, with force if necessary. This land will be sold. You will be removed, one way or another. Then I guess we'll see you in 24 hours. Colt's smile was cold. But know this, we will not go quietly. We will not surrender. And if you bring violence to our door, we will answer it, with interest. The riders turned, retreating. But Jamie could see it in their faces. This was not over. This was a declaration of war. When they were gone, when the dust finally settled, Jamie collapsed. The weight of everything crashing down at once. The twins caught him, lowered him gently to the ground. I'm sorry, Jamie gasped. I should have stayed quiet. Should have let you handle it. No. Carson's hand cupped his face. You were perfect. You told the truth. And that scared them more than any weapon could. But what he said, about my father, I don't. Jamie couldn't finish, couldn't voice the fear. Colt pulled him close. Your father's death was not your fault. Disease took him. Not guilt, not shame. The preacher is a liar, using your grief as a weapon. Jamie wanted to believe it, wanted to let the words wash away the poison, but doubt had taken root. What if the preacher was right? What if his father had known, had died carrying the weight of Jamie's secret? That night, Jamie could not sleep, could not quiet the voices in his head, the accusations, the shame, the fear that maybe he was the monster they said he was. He slipped from the bed, made his way to the porch, sat under the stars trying to remember how to breathe. Colt found him there, sat beside him without speaking, just present, solid, real. Finally, Jamie broke the silence. Do you ever regret it? Regret what? Taking me in, claiming me, making me yours. Because look what it's brought you. A mob, threats, the loss of everything you have built. Colt was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke, voice low and certain. When I was young, maybe 15, I knew I was different, knew I looked at men the way I was supposed to look at women, and I hated myself for it, fought it, tried to pray it away. Then one day I met a drifter, older man, scarred and hard, and he told me something I never forgot. He said the world will try to make you small, will try to convince you that your heart is wrong, but the only real sin is living a lie, pretending to be something you are not, dying slowly while calling it righteousness. Jamie listened, tears streaming silently down his face. Carson found me a year later. Colt continued. We realized we were the same, both different, both terrified, and we made a promise that we would never apologize, never hide, never let anyone make us feel less than whole. Then you walked into our lives, and we saw in you the same war we had fought, the same shame we had carried, and we knew we could either watch you break, or we could show you another way. So no, I do not regret claiming you. I regret that the world is so cruel it makes men like us choose between love and safety, but I will never regret loving you. The words shattered something in Jamie. Some final piece of armor he had been holding up. He turned into Colt's chest and sobbed, great heaving sobs that tore from somewhere deep inside. All the years of hiding, of hating himself, of believing he was broken, all of it pouring out in the darkness. Colt held him, let him break, let him shatter, knowing that sometimes the only way to heal was to fall completely apart first. When the storm finally passed, when Jamie had no tears left, Carson appeared with coffee and blankets. The three of them sat together watching the sun rise. And in that golden light, Jamie felt something shift. The preacher's words still hurt, still dug at old wounds, but they no longer defined him. He was not his father's shame, not the town's abomination, not the preacher's convenient villain. He was Jamie Crown, and he belonged to two men who saw him, really saw him, and loved him anyway. We need a plan, Jamie said finally, voice rough but steady. They're coming back, and we need to be ready. Carson nodded. We've been thinking about that. There's a lawyer in Fort Worth, man who helped us when our father died. He owes us a favor. We could fight this legally, Colt added. Prove our claim to the land. Make it costly for Halverson to push us out. And if that doesn't work, Jamie asked, then we make a choice. Carson's expression was grave. We can stay and fight, knowing we might lose everything. Or we can leave. Start somewhere new. Somewhere the railroad hasn't reached yet. Jamie's stomach twisted. You would leave? For you? Colt met his eyes. Yes. We would walk away from 3 generations of history, from our family legacy, from everything we have ever known, if it meant keeping you safe. The magnitude of it stole Jamie's breath. They would sacrifice everything. For him, a stable boy, nobody from nowhere. But he was not nobody. Not to them. And he would not let them give up their home without a fight. We stay, Jamie said firmly. We fight. We make them see that we are not going anywhere. That love is not a crime. That this land, this life, it belongs to us. Both twins studied him, then smiled. Identical expressions of pride and fierce joy. All right then, Carson stood. We fight. They spent the day preparing, fortifying the ranch, sending word to the lawyer, gathering allies among the ranch hands. To Jamie's surprise, several men stepped forward. Dutch was the first, his weathered face set in determination. I've worked this land for 30 years, watched Colt and Carson grow from boys to men, and I'll be damned if I let some railroad snake steal it from them. Others followed. Not all. Some packed their belongings and left, unwilling to stand against the town, against the preacher, against the weight of conventional morality. But enough remained, enough to make a stand. As night fell, Jamie found himself back in the twins' bedroom, nervous energy singing through his veins. They had a plan, they had allies, but the odds were still stacked against them. What if we lose? He asked. Then we lose together. Colt pulled him close, and we start again. Somewhere else. But we do not lose each other. That is the one thing that is not negotiable. Carson joined them, his hands finding Jamie's hips. We need you to understand something. This fight, it is not just about land, or money, or even pride. It is about proving that men like us, that love like ours, has a right to exist, Jamie nodded, his throat tight. I understand. Good. Because tomorrow, when they come, we are going to show them exactly what we are willing to defend. That night they did not sleep. Instead, they memorized each other, every touch, every breath, every whispered word, as if by holding tight enough, by loving hard enough, they could forge themselves into something unbreakable. And when dawn broke, painting the sky in shades of blood and gold, they rose as one, 3 men bound by something stronger than law, stronger than hate, stronger than fear. They rose ready to fight for the simple revolutionary act of loving who they loved. The riders came at noon, but this time they were not alone. Behind Halverson and the preacher rode the town marshal, and behind him, a federal land agent, documents in hand, official seals glinting in the harsh sunlight. Colt met them at the fence line, Jamie and Carson flanking him, behind them, Dutch and the remaining ranch hands, a small army, but an army nonetheless. Marshal. Colt's voice was level. This is private property. The marshal, a tired man with sad eyes, dismounted. Colt. Carson. I got a warrant here. Claim filed by Mr. Halverson. Says your land taxes haven't been paid in 3 years. That gives the territory the right to seize and auction. That is a lie, Carson snapped. We have receipts, proof of payment. Then you'll need to present them, the marshal said, to the land agent, along with your original deed. Any documentation proving continuous habitation. Colt and Carson exchanged a glance. The papers were in the house, in the safe. But leaving to retrieve them meant abandoning the defensive line, meant trusting that the mob would not surge forward in their absence. Jamie saw the calculation, the risk, and made a decision. I'll get them, he said. Before either twin could protest, he was moving, back toward the house, heart pounding, hands shaken. Behind him he heard raised voices, the marshal trying to maintain order, Halverson demanding immediate compliance, the preacher spewing scripture and condemnation. Inside the house, Jamie found the safe, worked the combination with trembling fingers, pulled out the leather folder containing decades of documents, proof of ownership, proof of payment, proof that this land, this life, belonged to the Maddox family. He was halfway back when he heard the gunshot. The world stopped. Jamie's heart seized. His legs moved faster, carrying him back to the yard, back to Colt and Carson, back to the only thing that mattered. The scene was chaos. Horses screaming, men shouting, and there, in the center of it all, Carson on the ground, blood blooming across his shoulder, Colt kneeling beside him, face twisted in fury and fear. Jamie did not think, did not plan, just ran, dropped to his knees beside them, the papers scattering in the dust. Izzy. I'm fine, Carson gritted out. Just grazed me, but his face was pale, his breathing shallow. Who fired? Colt's voice was murder. The marshal stepped forward, hands raised. It was an accident. One of the men, nervous trigger finger. Nobody aimed at anyone. Liar. Jamie's voice cut through the noise. He looked up, found Halverson sitting on his horse, face carefully neutral, but his eyes held satisfaction. You wanted this. Jamie stood, the papers forgotten. You wanted blood, wanted an excuse. Now you have it. Halverson's smile was thin. I wanted compliance. What happens when men refuse lawful orders? Well, they bear the consequences. Something inside Jamie snapped. The last thread of civility, of trying to play by their rules, in their world, where men like him had to apologize for existing. No more. He turned to the marshal. Those papers prove ownership, prove we have done nothing wrong. The marshal picked them up, studied them. His expression shifted. These appear to be in order. Then we are done here, Carson said, voice tight with pain. You have your proof. Now leave our land. But Halverson was not finished. There is still the matter of morality, of public decency. The preacher stepped forward, Bible raised like a weapon. These men corrupt the youth, flaunt their sin. They must be punished. Jamie laughed. It was not a kind sound. You want to punish us for love? For caring for each other? Then punish me too, because I am just as guilty. More so, I walked into their lives and demanded acceptance. Demanded to be seen, and they gave it, without hesitation, without shame. So if you are going to destroy them, you will have to destroy me first. The crowd shifted. uncomfortable. Several men looked away. The young man from before, the one whose brother had died. He dismounted, walked forward. "My name is Thomas Webb, and I stand with them." Murmurs, shocked, uncertain. Then Dutch stepped forward. "And I stand with them." One by one, ranch hands moved, forming a line between the twins and the mob. Not all of them, but enough. Enough to make a statement. The marshal looked at Halverson, at the preacher, back to the assembled men. "This is not a legal matter," he said finally. "This is personal, and I will not enforce personal vendettas. You have your answer. The land belongs to the Maddox brothers. What they do on it, who they love, that is their business." Halverson's face went purple. "This is not over." "Maybe not." Colt stood, helping Carson to his feet. "But today it is. Today we win." The riders retreated, slowly, reluctantly, but they went. And when the dust finally settled, when the last horse disappeared over the ridge, Jamie found himself surrounded by men who had chosen to stand, who had chosen love over hate, courage over fear. "You did it," Thomas Webb said quietly. "You stood up to them, and you did not break." "We did it," Jamie corrected. "All of us, together." That night, after Carson's wound was cleaned and bandaged, after the ranch hands celebrated their small victory, after the adrenaline faded and exhaustion set in, Jamie lay between the twins, their bodies forming a protective cocoon. "We won," he whispered. "Today." Colt's voice was heavy. "But Halverson will not stop. Men like him never do." "Then we will face him again," Jamie said, "as many times as it takes, until he understands that we are not going anywhere." Carson's good arm wrapped around Jamie's waist. "You have changed. Since that first day, you were so afraid, so uncertain." "I was," Jamie admitted. "I thought I was broken, thought I had to hide, but you showed me different. You showed me that strength is not about being unafraid. It is about being afraid and choosing to stand anyway." Both twins were quiet. Then Colt spoke. "We need to tell you something." Jamie tensed. "What?" "When we first saw you, when we decided to claim you, we thought we were saving you, teaching you, giving you what you needed. But the truth is," Carson continued, "you saved us, gave us purpose beyond just existing, beyond just surviving. You made us believe that maybe the world could be different, that maybe love could win." Jamie turned his face into Colt's chest, feeling Carson's heartbeat against his back. "I love you," he said, "both of you, more than I have words for. And no matter what comes, no matter how many Halversons or preachers or mobs, I will stand with you, always, forever." The words shifted something in the air, made it heavy, charged. Colt's hand slid down Jamie's side, possessive. Carson's grip tightened on his hip. "Show us." Colt's voice dropped, dangerous, hungry. "Show us how much you love us." Jamie's breath caught, his body already responding, already craving what they offered, what they demanded. "Yes," he whispered. "Anything, everything." They took him slowly at first, worshiping him with hands and mouths, building the heat gradually until Jamie was trembling, begging, desperate for more. Colt settled between his legs, eyes locked on Jamie's as he pressed inside. The stretch perfect, familiar, everything Jamie needed. "You feel that?" Colt's voice was strained. "Feel how perfectly we fit? Like you were made for us." Jamie could only nod, lost in the sensation, in the overwhelming fullness as Colt claimed him completely. Carson moved to Jamie's side, his hand wrapping around Jamie, adding another layer of pleasure, another source of overwhelming sensation. "You are ours," Carson growled. "Every part of you, every breath, every moan, all ours." The pleasure built impossibly high, Colt's rhythm perfect, Carson's hand relentless. Jamie felt himself climbing toward the edge, toward that moment of complete surrender. "Come for us," Colt commanded. "Show us what we do to you." Jamie's release tore through him, wave after wave of pleasure that left him shaking, sobbing their names, clenching around Colt so tight it pulled him over the edge as well. When they finally caught their breath, when the trembling slowed, Carson took his turn, flipping Jamie onto his stomach, entering him from behind with one smooth thrust. Jamie cried out, oversensitive, overwhelmed, but Carson did not relent, did not slow, just took what was his with single-minded intensity. This is what you do to us. Carson's hand fisted in Jamie's hair, gently pulling his head back. Make us so hungry we cannot think straight, cannot focus on anything but having you, filling you, marking you. The words combined with the relentless rhythm pushed Jamie toward another impossible peak, his body responding despite the exhaustion, despite having just finished, already addicted, already craving more. That is it. Carson's grip tightened. Take everything. Show me how much you need this. Jamie came again, smaller, more intense, his body clenching rhythmically around Carson as the pleasure rolled through him in endless waves. Carson followed with a roar, driving deep and staying there as he found his release, marking Jamie, claiming him, proving that no amount of outside hatred could touch what they had built together. They collapsed in a tangle of limbs, hearts pounding, skin slick with sweat, and Jamie felt it again, that bone-deep certainty. This was home, this was family, this was everything. The words were a vow, a promise, a covenant forged in fire and sealed with blood. And as the three of them drifted toward sleep, exhausted but whole, Jamie understood. This was what it meant to belong, not to be possessed, but to be part of something larger, to be woven so tightly into another's life that separating would require tearing apart the very fabric of existence. The next morning brought rain, soft and gentle, washing away the dust and blood, making the prairie green again. Jamie stood on the porch watching it fall, feeling cleansed, reborn. Colt joined him, coffee in hand. What are you thinking about? The future, Jamie said. What it might look like. And I think. Jamie smiled. I think we're going to be all right. We are going to fight. We are going to struggle. But we are going to survive. Because we have something they do not. What's that? Each other. And that is more powerful than any hate they can throw at us. Colt pulled him close, kissed the top of his head. Yes, yes it is. The rain continued, steady and sure, and in its rhythm, Jamie heard a promise that storms pass, that wounds heal, that love endures. He had come to this ranch a boy, frightened and alone, convinced he was broken, beyond redemption, beyond love. But Colt and Carson had seen through the fear, had looked past the shame, had found the man underneath, the man who could stand tall, who could fight, who could love without apology. And together, the three of them had built something beautiful, something revolutionary, something worth defending. Not just a home, but a family, chosen, forged, unbreakable. The road ahead would not be easy. Halverson would return. The town would whisper. The preacher would condemn. But they would face it together. Three men bound by something stronger than law, stronger than tradition, stronger than hate. They would face it with heads held high, with love as their weapon, with truth as their shield. And they would win. Not because they were perfect, not because they were invincible, but because they refused to apologize for loving who they loved, because they chose each other every single day, against all odds, against all expectations. They chose love, and in the end, that was the only thing that mattered. Jamie Crown had come to Texas searching for work, for survival, for a place to hide from a world that told him he was wrong. But what he found was so much more. He found home. He found family. He found himself. In the arms of two giants who saw him, who claimed him, who loved him with a fierceness that changed everything. And though the fight was far from over, though tomorrow would bring new challenges, new threats, new battles, tonight he stood on the porch of the Maddox Ranch, rain falling soft around him, surrounded by men who had chosen to stand, who had chosen to believe, who had chosen love, and he knew, with absolute certainty, that he was exactly where he belonged. The twin Cowboys had taken a frightened stable boy and shown him what it meant to be free, to be loved, to be whole, and in return, he had given them purpose, had given them hope, had proven that their love was not a weakness, but the greatest strength of all. Together, they had faced down hatred, had stood against bigotry, had refused to bow to the pressure of a world that demanded conformity, and they had won, not the war, not yet, but the battle. And sometimes, that was enough. Sometimes, one day at a time, one choice at a time, one act of defiance at a time. That was how you changed the world. That was how you proved that love, in all its forms, deserved to exist, deserved to be celebrated, deserved to win. So Jamie stood in the rain, let it wash over him, let it baptize him into this new life, this new family, this new truth. He was not broken, he was not wrong, he was not alone, he was loved, claimed, home, and that was everything. 3 weeks after the confrontation, a letter arrived. Jamie recognized the handwriting immediately, the same careful script from the anonymous warning. He opened it with trembling fingers, his eyes scanning the words that would change everything once more. Dear Jamie, I watched you stand before that mob, watched you refuse to bow, refuse to break, and I knew I could not hide anymore either. My name is Samuel Pierce. I am the school teacher's son. And like you, I have spent my entire life pretending to be something I am not, loving someone I was told I should not love. When I saw you with the Maddox brothers, saw the way you looked at them, the way they protected you, I felt hope for the first time in years. Hope that maybe I too could find that kind of acceptance, that kind of love. I am leaving Cold Pine, going west to California where they say men like us can live more freely. But before I go, I wanted you to know, you changed something here. Not just for yourself, but for all of us who have been hiding, watching, waiting for someone brave enough to stand. Thank you for being that someone. May you and your family find the peace you deserve. Yours in solidarity. Samuel. Jamie read the letter 3 times, each pass bringing fresh tears, fresh understanding of what their stand had meant. They had not just fought for themselves. They had fought for every person who had ever been told their love was wrong. Every soul who had hidden in shame. Every heart that had been broken by a world too cruel to see beauty in difference. He found Colt and Carson in the stable, both working to repair a stall gate. Their movements synchronized. A dance they had perfected over years of brotherhood. I need to show you something, Jamie said. He handed them the letter. Watch their expressions shift as they read. When they finished, Carson spoke first, his voice rough with emotion. We did this, the 3 of us. We showed them that love does not have to look the way they demand. Colt pulled Jamie close, and there will be others. Others who see what we have built, who find courage in our refusal to hide. That is a legacy worth fighting for. Jamie nodded, but the weight of it, the responsibility, it sat heavy on his shoulders. What if we cannot protect them all? What if more people get hurt because of us? Then we hurt too, Carson said simply. We carry that weight together, but we do not stop standing, do not stop being visible, because for every person who hates us, there is someone like Samuel, someone who needs to see that survival is possible, that love is possible. The words settled into Jamie's bones, became part of him. He understood now. This fight was bigger than just 3 men on a ranch in Texas. It was about changing the world, one defiant breath at a time. That evening they received another visitor, Thomas Webb, the young man whose brother had died. He dismounted slowly, hat in hand, expression uncertain. I hope I am not intruding. Colt stepped forward. You are welcome here, Thomas. Always. Thomas nodded, swallowed hard. I wanted to thank you for what you did, for standing. It made me realize something. My brother did not have to die. If we had been braver, if we had loved him instead of condemning him, he might still be here. The pain in his voice was raw, fresh despite the months that had passed. You cannot change the past, Jamie said gently, but you can honor his memory by being different, by choosing love when others choose hate. Thomas looked at him, eyes bright with unshed tears. Is that what you do? Every day, every moment? Jamie smiled. It is not always easy. Sometimes it is terrifying, but it is worth it. To live honestly, to love without apology, to be seen. Thomas was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke, his voice barely a whisper. I think I might be like you. You are welcome here, Carson said. If you need a place, a family, we are building something bigger than just the three of us. Thomas nodded, unable to speak past the emotion. And in that moment, Jamie saw the future. They would come, one by one, finding their way to this ranch, to this revolution built on the simple, radical act of loving who you loved. The ranch grew, creating sanctuary in a hostile world. Jamie watched it expand, felt the last shame fall away, replaced by pride, by purpose. Years later, when the railroad came, the Maddox Ranch still stood, weathered but unbroken. Jamie would stand on the porch and remember the terror of that first day. Then he would look at Colt, at Carson, at the family they built, and smile. He was not broken. He never had been. He was brave enough to love, strong enough to stand. The twin Cowboys and their stable boy, three souls intertwined, proving every day that love was worth fighting for, because they were written in the unbreakable bond of hearts that chose each other forever.